Welcome into a Tuesday edition of Daily Faceoff Live. We are streaming live on the DFO YouTube, and as always, brought to you by Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Look at me, Huts. I'm all repping DFO, Daily Faceoff hoodie, Daily Faceoff behind me. You only rep Thunder Bay, though. That's in your contract.
That's it, the Bay. These are custom made hats for my kid's birthday party my wife made. So I got on board with it. It's nice to see you at the office though. Do you actually have to put pants on today for the show? That's good to see.
Yeah, I did.
There we
also,
go.
My co-host on ON Everyday, Liam, he's instituting a no shoes in the studio policy. So everyone's supposed to be wearing slippers all day at work now. Everyone's got slippers kicking around, it adds a certain cozy vibe to things.
I like that. Just kind of, it's not the corporate world here. We need to relax. You need to do what you need to do. And that's the brand, right? That's why I am a DFO guy, buddy. I love it here. Let's keep it this way.
All right. We got a lot coming up today on the show. Jeff Marek's going to swing by for our big segment. We'll talk about a couple of different things with Mr. Marek. But first, let's kick things off, Huts, by talking about one of the big games from last night. It was a victory for the Toronto Maple Leafs, who shut out the Tampa Bay Lightning, handing the Bolts their fourth straight loss. For Toronto, 6-2-2 in their last 10. And listen, Anthony Stolarz has been out for a good chunk of this season. Joseph Woll goes on IR. Dennis Hildeby comes back up. A lot of people wondering if the injuries to goaltending was going to sink the Leafs. Not the case. The Hilde-beast has his first NHL shutout.
And well, that's been the issue this year with this team, right? They've been able to generate offense, and they just haven't been able to stop the puck. When it was Anthony Stolarz, when he had the keys to the castle, Joseph Woll comes back, gets hurt. Dennis Hildeby's been great. I watched that whole game last night. He is a guy that at times leaves me wanting more, I think, because of his lack of rebound control as a bigger goalie, but he never gets himself out of position. And I drilled you with these questions when we watched the Leafs live. He did a great job last night. He made a couple key saves early in that first period when Tampa Bay was buzzing. And then I thought Toronto got to their game. And again, I can't say enough about him being thrust into this position. He's been great. He has a .936 save percentage, which has been unbelievable at a time that's been, I guess in Toronto, there's a little bit of panic setting in. You have a lot of veteran guys. And if you're not going to get these saves now, like you look at Winnipeg's going through with Eric Comrie not being able to really carry this team through, it's been a lot of fun to watch. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs are back on track here, and confidence is a powerful thing for a young goalie, Ty.
Yeah, and speaking of confidence and maybe feeling himself a little bit, Austin Matthews finds the back of the net last night, ends the game with 8 shots on goal as well. So a big win for the Toronto Maple Leafs in an Atlantic division that, listen, it was very competitive early on. We're now at a point where there's only 2 teams in the Atlantic who have more than 5 wins in their last 10 games, and one of them is the Tampa Bay Lightning now, who have lost 4 in a row. They're 6-4 in their last 10. So Toronto's kind of ticking upwards at a really nice moment here and starting to get themselves back in the mix. Like, it's kind of funny how much, and it's similar to, a lot of Canadian teams or a lot of teams in big markets. You laugh after all the struggles and the big stories this year. They're 3 points out of the top spot in their division. So things are starting to look okay out in Toronto. I wanted to talk to you, though, Huts, about the Bobby McMann match penalty. A lot of Leafs fans kind of going like, what the hell? He got a match penalty for this one. What did you make of this? Because, I mean, he did whack him on the top of the head.
Yeah. So he gets in a situation, right, where, there's obviously some contact that happens on the play, and he doesn't like the, Oliver Borgstad comes over, cross-checks him. His stick ends up in the air, and then he just comes down like an axe. And you can't do this, right? I think sometimes we base the match penalty out of results. Like, Bjorkstad doesn't even react to it, but it doesn't matter. The fact is his stick is above his head. He comes down, he chops him right on the helmet. You can see right here in this replay, it's not a great view, but you can see it bounce off his helmet onto his shoulder. So I think he's going to get another game because these are things you just can't have happen in hockey. And again, just optically from the NHL's point of view, it's not because he didn't get hurt. The fact is he chopped the guy on top of the head.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Sometimes it feels like with the Department of Player Safety, and this is probably more of a vibes-based thing for me, but it feels like, a conversation only happens, a suspension only happens if the clip goes viral and everyone starts talking about it. But you're right, like punishing him for the action, not necessarily the result, is what the league should be doing. I guess we'll find out later on today as we wait. We'll keep talking NHL in a little bit, but Board of Governors meeting in the NHL meant Bill Daly had a chance to speak, and obviously the Olympics are the number one thing that he's being asked about. The IIHF confirming yesterday the smaller rink dimensions. Bill Daly saying that he just found out about this in the last week. There's also been a little bit of talk that, the players are going to be the ones who kind of, like the players aren't going to go play if the ice is deemed unsafe. But Huts, there's no way any player who's going to the Olympics is going to put up their hand and be like, you know what, guys, maybe we should sit this one out because the ice is unsafe. I know it's more of like a PA thing and all of that, but I found the comments from Bill Daly interesting. Like, I'm still, and we'll ask Jeff about this when he pops on, I'm like naturally a little pessimistic. And when I hear things like, Bill Daly shrugging and going, well, I found out last week, it's like, oh God, like, are they going into this with a truly open mind, or are they just going into this looking for an out?
Yeah, that is the concerning factor of it, right? Where it's like, if they just did it on North American soil, how much more money they'd be able to pocket and just have this, best on best tournament in their own right. But, that being said, telling the players that they're going to make the decision if it's unsafe or not seems insane to me. I deal with this all the time, right? For example, would be my 8-year-old's hockey, right? So parents are like, well, my kid needs to skate year round because he loves playing hockey, where I'm like, you can't make them make the decision, right? Because at the end of the day, these guys are so competitive. They want to do that. And my reference to you before we came on, like, if I let my kid pick what he wants to do every day, he's going to pick McDonald's and YouTube. You ask professional athletes, the best in the world, they're going to err on the side of trying to play internationally best on best. So that being said, there obviously is a priority to safety, but you kind of have to take the bullets out of the gun for the players, right? And someone has to be the final say in what goes on. But that being said, I just hope that they get there. And for me, it seems like they're building a brand new arena for this. It wasn't like there was an arena built that you just had to make adjustments to. It's insane that this is overlooked, I think, even to get to this point, Ty.
Yeah, so the quote from Bill Daly is, if the players feel that the ice is unsafe to play, then we're not going to play. It's as simple as that. And I do know there is some concern about can this arena withstand the amount of hockey that's going to need to be played on it. So it is now scheduled. And Daly used the word, he said the obstacles are not insurmountable, which if you're looking for a bit of positivity coming from the league perspective, there you go. It's not deemed insurmountable by the NHL, but the arena is currently scheduled to be finished on February 2nd. The first game on the women's side is scheduled to be played on February 5th. 3 days of wiggle room, Huts. I don't know. That's crazy to me that they've known for years that the Olympics are coming, and it's coming down to 3 days.
And that's if everything stays on plan, right? So that's not, you never know what they're going to run into, right? You can't foresee what the problems could be moving forward. And then you got to think about quality of ice and quality of play, right? And that is another big issue, right? Things in the NHL, after every single game in the NHL, there's actually a form that's filled out by somebody on the training staff, the equipment manager, and then a player rep. So a player rep fills out the quality of ice after every single game. Alex Steen did it when I was in St. Louis. He used to write a lot of funny comments because the ice was horrible, but that goes to someone and they try to make changes. Now, that being said, how particular guys are, and these are superstars with the way that the ice is and even playing field, I just worry that there's going to be a lack of quality, which just changes the whole impact of the tournament in my eyes.
Yeah, again, this is a story that is not going to go away. We are under 2 months away from that first game on February 5th. So things have got to get moving here at some point. But again, right now, to be 2 months away and already be at a point where you're like, don't worry, we'll have it done 3 days before the tournament starts is just absolutely insane to me. We'll talk about that a little bit more with Jeff. He'll give us his thoughts on the whole situation. But before that, Huts, I want to do a segment that we call Yes or BS. I'm going to read you a headline. You're going to tell me if you agree with it, if you think it'll come to fruition, or if it is a load of BS. David Pagnotta yesterday talking about the asking price for Kiefer Sherwood. Saying the Canucks really aren't budging all that much on their asking price for Sherwood, even though he's gone 8 games without finding the back of the net. Now, his numbers on the year, still good, all of that stuff. I still think he's a piece that a lot of teams who are in the playoff conversation will love to add, but the idea of the Vancouver Canucks getting a first-round pick for Kiefer Sherwood this year, is that a yes or is that BS?
You know what? I think it's BS, but I understand where they're coming from, right? It's early in the trade market. You have a lot of teams that are desperate to try to make some changes. And he is a piece that, could definitely help any team when you look at the way he could fit in your top 6 or in your bottom 6. The way he plays, he's kind of built for the playoffs. But it's not surprising he's gone 8 games without goals. I don't think anyone thought that this torrid pace he started with was going to continue. Now, I think this is a bit of a feeler, right? You're going to put out those vibes that this is the price that you have to pay. Again, will that price drop as we get later and closer to the trade deadline? I just don't see a team giving up a first for this, but like any good real estate market, it is what he's worth, what someone's going to pay for it. So again, I like Vancouver's concept here, not to just give him away for nothing. But that being said, I just can't see this happening, Ty.
And so to close out the report from Pagnotta, he says, not yet. He says, I don't believe as of today the Canucks have granted teams permission to speak with his agent about an extension. And maybe that would change things. A team would be like, you know what? Yeah, we will give up a first-round pick and maybe a little something more if we can get him extended and it's not just a pure rental. 30 years old, burst onto the scene last year with 19 goals. Before that, he was a guy who was largely viewed as a tweener. His career high in games was only 68 games before that. He's 30 years old. I can see wanting Kiefer Sherwood for a playoff run and saying, you know what, the $1.5 million cap hit, if you're a team that's right pressed up against the salary cap, remember, there's a playoff salary cap this year. So if you got Kiefer Sherwood at 50% retained this year, he's going to be a massive benefit to your cap picture, even going into the playoffs. I would just be worried if my team acquired Kiefer Sherwood that they're going to sit there and go, well, we got to give him a 5x5 or whatever the extension looks like because he's coming off a 20-goal year and he's never going to produce at this level again. So if I was a team that was looking to acquire Kiefer Sherwood, I don't even know if I'd want the extension that bad. I'd be like, you know what? If we really think he pushes us over the top this year and I'm a Minnesota or whoever, I'll give up the first-round pick for him. The contract's great, all of that stuff. I would just be incredibly hesitant to extend this guy before I know what he looks like in my team, in my organization. So I think it's a yes to the first-round pick. I just wouldn't want the extension that's coming with it at this moment if I was another team. Next one I got for you, some rumblings that James Reimer, who's a few months away from his 38th birthday, is still staying in shape, and he's still considering coming back. He was released from his PTO with the Leafs coming out of October. He's apparently waiting for the right spot. He's about to be 38, Huts. He only played 24 games last year in the NHL. Yes or BS, James Reimer can come back and make an impact in the NHL.
I don't know about an impact, but when the save percentages buzz around 897 for the league, there's potential where maybe he fills a little bit of a void. But that being said, I just don't truthfully think that he is the guy that's going to come back and do it. He's 38 years old. And the NHL that you're used to seeing has changed a ton for James Reimer's perspective, something that I lived through firsthand playing against James a ton. Is the game was protected when we first came in. When I first came in, there was 10 to 12 chances in a game and the defense was solid. Now the offense and the capability of his players, it's wide open. It's a different NHL. So I just don't see him making adjustments. The goal, I would rather take the minutes that he could play and give it to a younger guy who's been grown through this. So for James Reimer, I get it. It's admirable. It's really hard to say goodbye to the game, but I think his time has come and gone. And you look at those numbers, it's a pretty unbelievable career for a guy like James Reimer who bounced around as much as he did.
Yeah, there's that Twitter account that's Hall of Very Good, right? Not Hall of Fame, but Hall of Very Good. And I look at a guy who's managed to put forth a 9-10 save percentage, play north of 500 games. James Reimer ain't getting into the Hall of Fame, but I'd throw his name on a Hall of Very Good ballot any day of the week. Let's keep the conversation going and get to our big segment for the day. It's Jeff Marek from The Sheet, and it's all brought to you by Uber Eats. Hey, James Reimer, Jeff, hey. Hall of Very Good.
I like that. Yeah, it's not the Hall of Fame, but the Hall of, yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah, he's not bad. I kind of see, here's where I think James Reimer might fit somewhere in the NHL. If there is a goalie trade and a team needs to bring in essentially a placeholder for the remainder of the season because they've traded a netminder, maybe that's where a guy like James Reimer can fit. Not unlike how we saw, James Reimer, essentially grab the number one job in Buffalo last year down the stretch. So that's where if I'm James Reimer, I'm sort of holding out hope that maybe there's a goalie trade. Someone's going to need to fill a spot. They don't have a guy in the American League that they're going to call up. Maybe I can go into that spot and cash in on one more NHL paycheck. But he's clearly there's the sunny side of the mountain and the shady side of the mountain, and James Reimer is very much on the shady side of the mountain, gentlemen. But I do like that. The Hall of Very Good. The Hall of Very Good. I like that. Yeah. Along the spirit of my career, where a mediocre man is always at his best. How about that?
I want to talk to you about the Olympics. Pick your brain on this. Again,
Sure.
I kind of said it before you popped on, but like I'm naturally a bit of a pessimist when it comes to stuff like this. Where are you coming out?
Yeah.
Like, again, the fact that the arena is not going to be done until 3 days before the event, like that makes me a little queasy as someone who really wants to see best on best hockey.
I want to say something just to see both of your reactions. Did you guys hear that the Super Bowl is going to be played on a CFL field next year?
Like, that's what we're doing here.
I don't
Hopefully a
really
bigger
care
puck
about
too,
the
eh, for
leg.
goalies.
What? Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully a bigger puck,
I don't
eh?
really. I don't. Yeah, so we're gonna change the size of the pucks now too. I mean, I don't care about the length. I mean, obviously the big concern is the ice for everybody. Ty, I heard you talking earlier about, you know, there's essentially 3 days grace until they finally test this thing, and then what if, and what are the contingencies? There was I'll tell you, there was a really interesting report yesterday on a Quebec-based morning show, radio morning show, who talked about a group by the name of Glass, which is a Quebecois-based organization that makes outdoor rinks. They just made the outdoor rink. The most recent one would have been the one in Trois-Rivières. They also do business in Europe as well. And this radio program, and I tried to sniff around on this, but everyone's gone really, really quiet around it. This radio show was alleging that, you know, this group had been contacted about the feasibility, the availability of this company to build a temporary outdoor rink at the Olympics. Could that be the contingency that we see if the arena, listen, it will please nobody. But I think one of the most terrifying things to all of this is, when it became apparent, is there's no plan B. Like, if the rink isn't ready, plan B is feathers. That's it. And this is, I know I'm biased here, but this is the marquee event, the Winter Games. And you don't have a backup plan in case the arena is ready. Now, I don't know if there are legs to this, you know, outdoor arena concept, but hang on a second. Considering how many different twists and turns this story has taken, would it surprise either of you guys or anybody watching or listening right now if maybe the contingency is, because we've seen these outdoor rinks fired up really quickly here, could that be the contingency to all of this in case the rink isn't ready? I don't know. I'm gonna pull a Doug McLean on both you guys. This is what Doug was always famous for saying. He used to say, it's an East Coast saying. I'm not saying it's the truth. I'm just saying what I heard. Not saying it's the truth. I'm just saying what I heard. But I thought that was an interesting report yesterday.
Yeah.
I always found it interesting when I was in Arizona and we went through those meetings so I was in Glendale at the big rink, and They came in and they talked about shrinking us to a smaller arena when they went into the Arizona rink. And there was no wording in our CBA where we were allowed to play. Like, so as an ownership group, you could just take a team and put them wherever to play. Like, we had no protection in that standpoint. And the argument back was like that it's temporary. And my thing as a player, I always felt that was so awkward, was like, guys' time in the NHL is temporary, right? So you want them to be in a better setting. So I feel like at times it's kind of on the players here to really step up and I think take control of this factor, because they're the ones that have to play in this situation.
I think it's a really good point. The other factor here, and normally, Ty, you said, your default is to cynicism, and I get that. And normally we think, oh, owners are always just like, get them on the ice, get them playing. It doesn't matter. Oh, they're injured. Rub some dirt in it. Get back on the ice. Like, we've all heard all the cliches. But man, there are a lot. Listen, one of the reasons why ownership was always hesitant to send over their athletes is, one, no immediate financial benefit to them, and two, the chance of injury is pretty high, right? I mean, go ask the Ottawa Senators. I mean, the Ottawa Senators essentially had, you can make the argument, had a Stanley Cup stolen from them because of the Hasek injury. Like, you guys can both remember, like, Ottawa had to, like, I remember them begging Hasek just to go on the ice to practice. But, the angel hair pasta groin wasn't having any of that part. If he's not 100%, Hasek's not getting on the ice. And you can make the argument that cost them a Stanley Cup. The Islanders with John Tavares. Like, injuries, we know there are going to be injuries. You just hope that it's not because of the ice. And as much as it is a player issue, yes, absolutely. Do you want to be playing on on a substandard surface? I think the owners at the same time, too, would look at and say, I've invested millions and millions of dollars in these athletes. I do not want to risk my investments because my return on investment happens in the middle of April. I don't want to risk that. So I think it's both.
It's not a matter of like, oh, I wonder if someone's going to get hurt. It's like, no, it's
they will.
It's who is going to get hurt. Like every NHL owner is rolling the dice and just like crossing their fingers, being like, please don't be my guy. So yeah, I mean, it's the ice thing is just crazy that we're at this point. I want to switch gears a little bit here and talk about the Quinn Hughes stuff. You had Shayna Goldman on your show. It's always fantastic. But you talked about the idea of Detroit, and that's something that's been, thrown around a little bit. The very crude analogy that I kind of used. It's like, okay, could Quinn Hughes be the saver of the Yzer plan in Detroit? And I laughed. It's like, it's like a marriage that's on its last legs. It's like, oh, don't worry, we'll just get a puppy, and like that'll solve the whole dynamic here, and we'll be good, right? Like that's kind of if the Quinn Hughes trade is all that's left. That really is like Yzerman's last bullet.
First of all, for everybody watching and listening, do not take relationship advice from Tyler. If your relationship is on the rocks, do not get a puppy. Go to therapy and then maybe get a puppy. I do know what you're saying. Like the point about the Red Wings is, like we don't even call that rink a new rink anymore, do we? It's just a newer rink that's never had a playoff game. And is there pressure on Yzerman to deliver a playoff team? Absolutely there is. And I think it really began a couple of years ago when they spent a lot of money essentially signing middle six players and Ben Sherrod on the blue line as well. Because I think that, the Ilitch family wanted to move this along and wanted to sell some playoff tickets. Thank you very much. It's been a lot slower than a lot of people expected. Now, Steve Yzerman, if you know his reputation, you guys both do, I mean, he is very, very patient. He will not be bullied into doing something that he doesn't want to do. He doesn't listen to input other than, the immediate people around him, probably to an extent, Chris Ilitch as well, and perhaps Jimmy Devellano with the Wings. But essentially, like, Yzerman runs his own ship, and he's running his own timeline here, and he's going to take his time. But if you're a Red Wings fan, it's like, how long can you wait for this? And given the fact that we wondered about July 1st next year and said, it's going to be a bonanza. It's going to be Eichel. It's going to be McDavid. It's going to be Kyle Connor. It's going to be Adrian Kempe, Martin Necas, and go right down the list. It's none of them. So given that there's no franchise/impact player waiting on July 1st for the Detroit Red Wings, who have oodles of cap space to spend on, how do you move this forward? And I think the sane thing to do right now, considering the patience has produced a real good crop of prospects, and we all know the obvious names, is it not time? I think maybe the question we should be asking is this one. Is it time that the Detroit Red Wings got out of the green banana business and started to use their picks and prospects to bring in ripe bananas, right? What do you hear coaches always talk about? I don't want to hear about prospects. I don't want to hear about picks. I want players. Like, is this the point now where you need to say, okay, all these wonderful prospects that we have, that's great. We can either wait for them to develop on the ice and use them that way, or we can use them to get players that can help us now. And in the Quinn Hughes case, a significant one that pushes this thing forward in a significant way. Because Wings fans are, like, I'm not saying that it's the worst yet for Detroit. I've never felt that not buying a ticket is the worst thing that can happen with your fan base. The worst thing for your fan base is not where people choose not to buy tickets. I'll give you one worse, and Detroit's not there yet. When a fan buys a ticket and then decides not to go, then you have a problem, right? If they don't buy a ticket, you can still get them back. But once a fan buys a ticket and is like, I got something else to do, then it's apathy, and apathy is the killer. It's not that they're not buying tickets. When they're apathetic, then you have problems. But it feels like that's the next step here for the Detroit Red Wings, which is why if I'm Steve Yzerman, there's no franchise-altering players on July 1st. We all remember Dylan Larkin barking about his GM last year in the end of season interviews. I really do think that now is the time for Steve Yzerman to take some swings here and start using some of those prospects that they've accumulated over the years.
Jeff, do you think the impact of Yeah, it does. It makes total sense. I like the banana reference too. I think that's a good. It makes sense, right? Because I played on so many teams where it's like, well, this guy's. When I lived it firsthand, where I got pushed out of teams because they're like, hey, the next guy's coming, so we have to get him. And I would always it doesn't mean he's going to be the next guy, right? It's based on potential, and it feels like more than ever right now in the East, in the Atlantic. There's some teams that are stumbling right now that you have a little bit of grace. It's not like you're trying to play catch up. You're leading the division. It feels like if you don't make the playoffs this year, wow, like it's really going to be that year that I think sends a message to the whole city of Detroit that this isn't for real here anymore.
Yeah, it's fascinating with what's happening. Like right now, it very much feels like the Atlantic is in a transition phase that we're starting to. And listen, we all love what Morgan Geekie is doing with the Boston Bruins. It's a great story and it's fun and Boston is scrapping all season long, fighting for points, and that's great. But we can still see that again to the sunny side of the mountain, shady side of the mountain. They're on the shady side of the mountain. Maple Leafs are on a little win streak here, but I don't know that anyone looks at this and says this is anywhere near the Maple Leafs at their height in this era. The Tampa Bay Lightning, as much as it just went on that rip not too long ago where everybody was injured, you can only do that for so long, and it does catch up to you. That team's not getting any younger, and the Florida Panthers story, despite picking up a couple of big wins on the weekend, their story of at least a little bit of a decline is starting to get well told, and I think people are still, even though they've picked up a couple of wins here, starting to get nervous about them. So you're looking probably at an era where there are some teams that are transitioning down, and the question you ask is, okay, who's grabbing those spots? Ottawa is grabbing a spot here. The Montreal Canadiens are a little bit back and forth. Maybe, all rebuilds are bunny hops, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. So maybe they're not quite there yet. But it's a great question. Like, who is ready to take that next step as other teams are leaving points and positions on the board here to do it? The only one that's really wiping themselves out here still are the Buffalo Sabres. Last night, man. No. Boy, I don't know. And then, you had Lindy Ruff going on about Noah Ostlund, and the only bad thing is that he got sent down, and it's because management can't make up their mind on the three-headed goaltending monster, which every goalie loves, by the way, because I can't tell you how many goaltenders I've met that say, like, I love being part of a 3-man rotation. It's awesome. I just love it, coach. It's fantastic. I'm really happy here. That seems to be like the only one that's really taking themselves out here.
Yeah, that's fair. And Buffalo, second of back-to-backs tonight. They're in Edmonton. What do you got coming up on the sheet today?
We're going to be talking a lot about the Buffalo Sabres. Andrew Peters is going to stop by, so there's going to be a lot of salt on the microphone for Andrew Peters as we sort of go through Huts, the Buffalo Sabres, one of your old squads. And Tyler, to your point, this is like the worst possible opponent right now for Buffalo tonight. Coming off a disappointing loss against the Calgary Flames, here's an Oilers team that all of a sudden has remembered, oh yeah, we can score 9. Yeah, we can zip 8 past the goaltender, no problem. Here you go. Here's the Buffalo Sabres. Here's some batting practice for you. And who do we have? They have a new injury. They have one more injury to report today from the Buffalo Sabres. Jeez. I can grab it. Do you have it? Someone? I just saw this really quickly before I hopped on.
I'm totally blanking on it too, but I did see it.
They do have one more injury. Hang on, if you want to wait for 1 second.
Zucker?
Zucker?
Yeah, Zucker's out. Yeah, Zucker's out. Jason Zucker's out. Actually, he didn't look too bad in the first half of the game yesterday. So that's a tough one. Real tough one for the Buffalo Sabres here. But listen, when your goaltenders are hard to hit, it's tough to win games.
Yeah, it's brutal. Jeff, appreciate you popping on. Have a good show today, and we'll chat again next week.
Thanks, boys. Talk in 7 days.
10-game slate tonight in the NHL, Hut. So let's do a little What Are You Craving for our friends at Uber Eats. Uber Eats is here before, during, after the game, assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. 10-game slate tonight. I'll tell you this. You were just talking about the 3-goalie rotation in Buffalo. When you're staring down the barrel of the Oilers on the second of a back-to-back, I'm sure they're all kind of sitting there being like, yeah, I'll sit out this one. I'll go press box. I'm good.
Yeah. There's nights where it's okay to take a break and you don't want to have to play. But I definitely feel like those goalies in Buffalo, this would be the night, Ty.
Yeah. Any game tonight on the slate that you're keeping an eye on? Whenever we do this, I always just look at the Habs and I'm like, oh man, they're getting the Lightning today. Tampa Bay still with no Andre Vasilevsky. Like, I'm looking at the starting goalies tab on DFO right now. Brandon Halverson is unconfirmed, but he might be the guy. Like, the Habs might score 6 tonight.
Yeah, that's one that definitely lights the lamp for me. I know I took the over yesterday, didn't pay off, but I'm going to watch that Devils Ottawa game because both teams are kind of trending in the wrong direction. And I think it's a big 2 points, a game I potentially see going overtime. So that's one for me in that Metro Atlantic mix over. I'm going to be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's get to our daily face-off inbox question, hashtag askDFO. Marek brought up Morgan Geekie, and he was on Spittin' Chicklets the other day, and they asked him, like, hey, you're the highest goal scorer in the NHL. Like, do you think you'll go to the Olympics? And he kind of laughed, and he was like, no. He's like, I'm a hockey fan. I look at that roster. Like, I kind of know I'm not going, but he was like, I will sit at home and root them on, and I'm excited to watch. When you were a player, like, how much of like when you were a player in 2014, were you like, oh man, I'm going to wake up early and watch the Olympics? Or like when you were in the league, were you like, I really don't care?
No, I cared for sure. Those international events, it's a lot of fun, right? And I always remember when they were picking the team, I believe that year it was Stevie Y was the general manager. And I remember skating around at practice beforehand the day that they were going to announce the team, going to Shea Weber, like, hey, so Shea, like when they call, like, are they going to call me directly or send an email? He'd be like, Huts, get away from me, go back in the net. Like me acting like I was going to make the team. But I was a big fan. I loved it. It's such a cool event. So the fan in me definitely takes over. And I think majority of players, like Morgan Geekie said, this is the stuff you loved as a kid, right? It's just authentic. You take the money out of it. It's just about winning and it's about your country and pride. So I think that's always something that players keep in their perspective.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm always curious. Like, again, I'm sure there will be guys who are like, yeah, I'm sitting down and watching. I'm sure there's guys who are like, let's go, like Mexico, Cabo. I'm out of here. Like, I'm not watching hockey over the next 2 weeks.
But I think like a great example last year, the Four Nations, like
Yeah.
It just drew every single eye. And the fact that we haven't had this in so long, more guys are going to be invested in trying to see what plays out here.
That's fair. All right, let's get to our daily bets for Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. I see 2 check marks. Pat, good night for us.
Yeah, it was the Kaprizov empty net goal. I was sweating it. I think there was like a minute and some left,
Yeah.
but he fired it almost 200 feet for both of us to cash on that one.
Awesome. I'm glad you guys are having a great day here. You know what I mean? Come on, boys. Let's just get the camaraderie going. These stupid bets. I'm back today. Today's the day, though. We're turning this around.
I'm taking a big swing. I'm going to try my luck here and see if I can shave off potentially a third of my deficit. I'm going 2 puck lines. I touched on them both already. Edmonton puck line over the Sabres. Buffalo gave up 7 to the Flames last night. If you give up 7 to that anemic Flames offense, you might give up 70 to the Oilers. And Montreal against Tampa Bay on the puck line as well. Habs coming off a win over the Leafs on the weekend. And again, Tampa Bay, losers of 4 straight. They might be going with Brandon Halverson tonight in this one, so they're banged up still. Both puck lines plus 582. Let's go. Pat, what do you got?
Well, I'm swinging for the fences a little bit on mine, but I like the revenge angle of Matt Savoy anytime goal tonight at plus 350. He's got 3 goals in his last 2 games, originally from Buffalo. Obviously, I don't think they treated him bad or anything, but I just like the angle of playing your former team, and they got shelled last night by Calgary, 7 goals, so I don't imagine Edmonton's going to hold back tonight either, so I like that one. What about you, Huts?
And today on our Oilers Nation edition of the show, I'm taking the Edmonton Oilers money line as well, and I'm taking the Dallas Stars paired together. I'm not cocky enough to go puck line minus 1.5. I think they hopefully squeeze this out 3-2, and then I can be the only winner. But I'm getting greedy now. I got to find a way to get wins.
All right, that is not a wrap. We got to get to garbage time here, Huts. Former teammate of yours officially announced his retirement yesterday. 987 games in the show for Craig Smith, a guy who was originally a 4th-round pick of the Nashville Predators, and like I said, someone you played a couple years with.
Yeah, I got to spend 3 years with Smitty in Nashville. Great guy, great friend to that extent. There's not many guys that work as hard as he did on his craft, right? His stick skills, he's from Wisconsin, and he kind of would train in the summers with Joe Pavelski. His stick was so good. Pavelski was so known for tipping pucks in front of the net and his hand-eye. Craig Smith was a very similar player. And again, a guy that lived in the gym, and he earned every single 987 of those games. So congrats to him on retirement. Honestly, it's a lot of fun. And hopefully he doesn't want a job, because I don't want to lose my spot here, buddy.
Oh, man, you do feel for a guy, though, not being able to get to that 1,000 mark. Hey, like 13 shy, like that stings.
It's something that, because then a team has to take a chance on you. And the one thing for me, I think I ended up with 96 wins or 94 maybe wins. Like getting to 100 wins would have been like my 1,000 game. Obviously, your goalie, you're not lasting that long. So for Smitty, again, it's just a number. His career was unbelievable.
94 Huts. I got you pulled up right in front of me here as well. 5 assists in your career, though. Not bad.
I use that line all the time. Like late in the game in beer league, if it's tied and I'm not on the ice, I always go, it's crazy not having me on the ice. I got most NHL points on this whole bench.
Huts, good stuff today. Jeff Marek was great. We got Steve Peters tomorrow, Dave Pagnotta, and Friday we got a former teammate of yours, Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson, not a former teammate. You jumped the gun. I never played with him, but I reached out to him. We got him on the show. It should be fun. He's trying to get a little more into media. And again, a guy that has played on some really, really good teams. So I look forward to hearing what he has to say about the current NHL.
Yeah, should be good. Everybody in the YouTube, great stuff as always. Have a good Tuesday, and we'll see you all right back here tomorrow at noon Eastern. Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Marek, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.